what is there in module 6. In module 6 they have given about module objectives. So these all about module objectives. Next it is giving about terms and definitions. Let's see what it is. Okay, A to C. Here they are going to explain. Okay, like letter wise they have taken
Yeah.
A, B, C till C. So A to C. So first one is educate security. Security commensurate with the risk and the magnitude of harm resulting from the loss, misuse, misuse of unauthorized access to or modification of information source. OMB secular 8130. Can you read?
Okay. Administrative control. The next is administrative control. Controls implemented through policy and the procedures. Example include access control processes and requesting multiple personnel to conduct a specific operation. Administrative controls in modern environments are often enforced in conjunction with physical and or technical control, such as an access granting policy for new users that requires login and approval by the hiring manager.
Third one, third one is artificial intelligence, the ability of computers and robots to simulate human intelligence and behavior.
As well, and the fourth one is assist. So anything of value that is owned by the organization. Assist include both tangible items such as information systems and the physical property and in intangible assets such as intellectual property.
Authentication, access control process validating that the identity being claimed by a user or entity is known to the system by comparing one single factor or SFA or more multi-factor authentication or MFA, factor of identification.
So, and the next is authorization. The right or a permission that is granted to a system entity to access a system resources.
Availability, ensure timely and reliable access to and use of information by authorized user.
Next is baseline. A documented lowest level of security configuration always by a standard or organization. Next is bot. Malicious code that acts like a remotely controlled robot for an attack with other Trojan and worm capabilities. Whereas the next is classified or sensitive information. Information that have been determined to require protection against unauthorized disclosure and is marked to indicate its classified status and the classification level in documentary form. Whereas the next is confidentiality. The characteristic of it of data or information when it is not made available or disclosed to unauthorized persons or process.
Last one is criticality, a, a measure of the degree to which an organization depends on the information or information system for the success of a mission or of a business function. This is all about terms and definitions of A to C. Let's see D to I. Data integrity, the property that data has not been altered in an unauthorized manner. Data integrity covers data in storage during processing and while in transit.
And the next one is encryption. The process and at the converting the message from its plain text or clear text. Sometimes it is also referred to an encrypting the two terms are sometimes used interchangeably in literature and have similar meaning. Next is GDPR. So, as we already seen that what is GDPR, it is under control the European Union passed comprehensive legislation that addresses personal privacy, deeming it in an individual human right. And the next is governance. The process of how an organization is managed usually include all aspects of how decisions are made for the organization, such as policies, rules, and procedures and organization uses to make those decisions. And the next one is HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. It is comes under the US federal law in the most important health care information regulation in the United States. It directs the adoption of national standards of electric healthcare transitions while protecting the privacy of individual health information. Other preventions addresses fraud reduction, and protection of individual with health insurance and the broad range of other healthcare related activities. And the next is impact. The magnitude of harm that could be caused by threats exercises of vulnerability. And the next is information security risk. The potential adverse impacts to an organization's operations, including its mission, function, and image and reputation. As its individuals, other organization, and even the nation, which results from the possibility of unauthorized access, use, disclosure, deception, and modification and destruction of information and or information systems. And the next is IEEE, Institute of an Electrical and Electronics Engineers, is professional organization that sets the standards for the telecommunication, computer engineering, and similar disciplines. And the next is integrity, the property of an information whereby it's recorded, used, and maintained in a way that ensure its completeness, accuracy, initial consistency of usefulness for a stated purpose. And the next is ISO, International Organization of Standards. The ISO develops validity in international standards in collaboration with its uh, part partners in international standardization, the International Electronic Technical Communication, and the International Telecommunication Union, particularly in the field of the information and the communication technologies. And the last one is Internet Engineering Task Force. The Internet Standards Organization made up of network designs, operations vendors, and researchers that defines protocol standards throughout through a process of collaboration and the calculus sources. And let's see the next J2P, that is likelihood. The probability that potential vulnerability may be exercised with the current of the associated threat environment.
Next is likelihood of occurrence, a weighted factors based on subjective analysis of the probability that given threat is capable of exploiting a given vulnerability or set of vulnerabilities. Here, multi-factor multi-factor authentication using two or more distinct instance of the three factor of authentication. Something you know, something you have, something you are. For identity verification. Next is National Institutes of Standards and Technology. The NIST is part of the US Department of Conventions and addresses the measurement infrastructure within science and technology efforts within the US federal government. NIST sets standards in a number of areas, including information security in the Computer Security Research Center of the Computer Security Divisions. Next is non-reputation. The in the inability to deny taking an action such as creating information, approving information, and sending or receiving a message. Next is personally identifiable information. The National Institute of Standard and Technology, known as NIST, in its special publication 800 to 122 defines PII as any information. 1 minute, huh? Where is 800 to 122 define PII as any information about an individual maintained by an agency, including any information that can be used to distinguish or trace an individual's identity, such as name, social security number, date and place of birth, mother's median name or biometric record, and any other information that is liked or likable to an individual, such as medical, education, finance, and employment information. Next is physical controls. Controls implemented through a tangible machinism. Example include walls, fans, regards, grades, looks, etc. In modern organization, many physical control systems are like to technical logical systems such as batch readers reconnected to door lock. Privacy, the right of an individual to control the distribution of information about themselves. Next is probability, the chances or likelihood that a given trait is capable of exploiting a given vulnerability or a set of vulnerabilities. Next is protected health information. Information regarding health status, the provision of health care or payment for health care as defined in HIPAA, Health Insurance Probability, Portability and Accounting Act. Next is
Let's see. चौथा Let's see from future of what they are saying. Qualitative risk analysis, a method of risk analysis that is based on the assignment of descriptors such as low, medium, of high sources. And the next is quantitative risk analysis, a method of risk analysis where the numerical values are assigned to both impact and the likelihood based on the statistical probabilities and maintain valuation of loss or gain. So, and the next is risk for a possible event which can have negative impact upon the organization. Risk acceptance. determining that the potential benefits of the business function outweighed the possible risk, impact, or likelihood, and performing the business function with no other action. Risk assessment. The process of identifying and analyzing risk to organizational operations, including missions, function, image, or reputation. Organizational assist individual and other organizations. The analysis performed a part of risk management, which incorporates that and vulnerability analysis and the considered mitigations provided by security control plan or in place. In the next year, risk advice. Determine that the impact and or likelihood of a specific risk is too great to be an offset by the potential benefits and not performing a citizen business function because of that determination. The next is risk management. The process of identifying, evaluating, and controlling threats, including all phases of risk context, risk assessment, risk treatment, and risk monitoring. Risk management framework, a structured approach used to oversee and manage risk for an enterprise. Next, risk mitigation, putting security control in place to reduce the possible impact and or likelihood of specific risk. And the next is risk tolerance. That is the level of risk entity is willing to assume in order to achieve a potential desired result. And the next is result risk transfer risk transference, paying an external party to accept the financial impact of a given risk. Risk treatment risk treatment and the last is risk treatment, the determination of the best way to address an identification risk identity.
Let's learn about learn from S to Z. Security controls, the management, operationals, and technical controls, that is safeguards and counter counter measures prescribed for an information system to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the system and its information. Sensitivity, a measure of the importance assigned to information by its owner for the purpose of denoting its need for protection. Next is single factor authentication, use of just one of the three availability factors, something you know, something you have, something you are, to carry out the authentication process being requested. Next is state, the condition an entity is in at a point in time. Next is system integrity, the quality that a system has when it performs its intended function in an unified manner, free from unauthorized manipulation of the system, whether intentional or sorry, intentional or accidental. Next is technical control, security controls, that is safeguards or countermeasures measures measures for an information system that are primarily implemented and executed by the information system through mechanism contained in the hardware, software, or firmware component of the computer. Next is threat, any circumstance or events with the potential to advertising impact organization operation, including mission, function, image, or reputation, organization asset, individuals, other organization, or the nation through an information system via unauthorized access, destruction, disclosure, modification of information, and or denial of service. Next is threat actors, an individual or a group that attempt to exploit vulnerability to cause or force a threat to occur. Next is threat vector, the means by which a trade actors carry out their objectives. Next is token, a physical object a user processes and controls that is used to authentication the user's identity. Next is means last one is vulnerabilities. Weakness is an information system security procedures, internal controls or implementation that could be exploited by a threat source. These all about terms and definitions.